E.Jones Show. The E.Jones Show. Featuring the First Lady, Sharonda, Cody, and Mills.
Are you serious?
Yeah, boy.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's E.Jones.
Yes, indeed. Y'all already know what it is. It's the E.Jones Show in full effect. What's good with y'all people? We're in the building.
Yes, we are, baby. Yes, we are.
And we got a special guest that we're going to talk to tonight.
Oh, I thought I was a special guest.
No, we got another special guest
Oh, my bestie.
that we're going to talk to tonight. You know, my other sister.
My bestie for about 34, 35 years.
There you go, revealing your age.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm thankful for my age.
55, 65, 70.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
We got Miss Beverly Moore Clark in the building. How you doing, darling?
Good evening. How you all doing?
Good
How you
evening.
doing?
Hey, bestie.
Hey.
I said I'm a surprise her because she didn't think I was coming.
No, I did not.
I
but
know
it's a
you
very
did.
surprise.
Hey. That's how we do things.
Well, we got you in the building, and we're going to let you introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell them a little bit about what you do, and then we're going to get into some things. We're going to talk about this whole mental health situation that's definitely playing a major part, not only, for the families, but also in this world, period, criminal-wise and everything.
Okay, well, you already introduced me, but I will reintroduce myself. Again, my name is Beverly Moore Clark. I'm a licensed social worker. I work in New Jersey as a program director for a mental health agency providing services to mentally ill adults 18 and up. I also am the founder of BMC Counseling and Consulting, LLC, where we provide services to individuals in need for counseling. We also provide mentoring. We also will work with children, domestic violence, and anything surrounding mental health. We're here to be an advocate and provide support. So anything that we can do to help people live successfully in the community, that's what we do.
Okay, I like it. So let's start from the beginning. What made you get into this field of work? Because it's always a story behind a person going into the job field. So what is your story?
Well, Eric, when I was in high school, I used to walk to school.
Briefly.
Briefly.
Let's keep it real. Briefly.
And I used to see, adults acting bizarre, talking to themselves. And I was curious as to why they were doing that. So once I graduated high school, I decided to go to college for psychology to learn about the mind and why people talk to themselves.
Now, I have to say this. As long as I've known her, I never knew what prompted her to go into that field. So this is all new for me. So it's good. I learned something else new about my bestie.
What prompted people to talk to themselves? Well, I can give you a couple of reasons, but I'm not a professional. So I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. So once did you figure out why they're talking to themselves?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Many of them I realized from going to school. I went to Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck. I realized from taking psychology that they were hearing voices, saying things, telling them to do things. Sometimes people see things that's not really there. So that's called visual hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, and they would respond to them. So, for example, just like you and I and Sharonda are talking, they may hear a fourth person talking, saying things to them like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, or, yeah, I disagree with her, or, yeah, she's right, or tell them to be quiet and let me say something. So those are the different type of voices that they may hear. Or while we're on the radio, they may hear and see someone that's not really there, and they may respond to that person. And to them, they believe that the person is really there.
Wow.
okay.
Well, I have a question. Is that something that someone could easily fake?
If they have the knowledge, I would say yes, they could.
And is that common?
Is what common to fake it?
Yes, to find people that come for services and they are faking.
Most of the time, to be honest, from doing this since way back in the 80s, I find that people normally don't fake hearing voices or seeing things. Most of the time, they may fake depression, things of that nature, because depression is a little easier I said easy, actually a little bit harder to pinpoint because it's internal, so you really don't know if someone is not.
Got you. Well, I couldn't work for you because then I'd be fired.
And why would that be?
Because when they start talking to themselves, automatically I say to myself, maybe you need to be alone.
So you gonna leave?
Yep.
Oh God.
I'm out.
That's not helping the individual, Eric, if you leave.
Well, I'm just trying to give them their space. Especially,
who really needs the space? Would it be you need the space or
especially
the person?
the person needs the space, because if they having a conversation and I'm not included in it, then obviously it's none of my business what they talking about. So I'm going to give out.
Maybe you are included in it.
Okay. Well, if they talking and answering me and then answering somebody else, somebody got to leave the room. I elect me.
Okay, I have another question that I'm thinking of. With all of the incidents that's happening where people are blowing up, the bombers and people that's shooting up all these different places, could those people possibly have been experiencing some type of medical or mental instability, and maybe some of them have never been diagnosed?
Well, that's hard to say because you have to look at each person as an individual. Everyone comes from different walks of life and different backgrounds, and they have different things that stimulate them to do certain things. Sometimes those people that do things like that, they are influenced, they're brainwashed by certain people who they, look up to. Some people do have a mental illness where voices may be telling them to do certain things. So to answer your question, the answer could be yes and the answer could be no.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with you on that, because I feel like a lot of this, I call them the suicide people, they're being brainwashed to kill other people because it's a sacrifice. And that's the sacrifice that they have to take in order for them to achieve going to the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of that is illness is out belief. Just like people believe in God, some people believe in our lives, some people don't believe in a higher spirit. So it depends on the person. A lot of times it depends on how they're raised. What influenced them. If they, for example, if a male never had any attention from a male growing up, and all of a sudden, this gentleman who seems sincere, seems concerned, seems caring, takes this person under their wing, and they believe in them, so they believe that that person would tell them all truth. So if that person is saying something to them like, you should, we could conquer the world, we need to set this example, we need to let it be known, as a young boy, why wouldn't you follow that person if you believe in that person? Just like we believe in our parents and what they were saying was right and guide us in the right direction, they believe the same thing.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to throw something at you right now. Let's say you have a child that's on the spectrum of autism, but they have the ability to manipulate. Does them two, with being on the spectrum of autism, but still, I'm trying to find the right way of saying it. Being on the spectrum of autism, but they still have the capability to manipulate situations, and they're narcissistic. Is that part of the spectrum, or that's two different situations mental health issues going on at the same time?
I in my opinion, would be separate entities because that spectrum is more kind of sort of the childhood coming into adulthood. So a lot of times when they become an adulthood, they would need to be reevaluated by a psychiatrist or either psychologist, someone who can kind of take a look and look at all aspects and see what's going on with that person. It may just be their personality, that they have a manipulating personality. Sometimes, we suspect a person may be narcissistic, but it depends on, there's certain guidelines that they have to meet to be classified as a person with narcissism. So we would have to take a look at that. So to answer your question, it will be based on the individual and what characteristics they come up with.
Got you. And like we said earlier, right now, the mental health issues is at a rampant rage right now. You have people walking the streets that have these issues, but there's not enough treatment or places for them to go to treat them. So they're like basically set out into the public to fend for themselves.
Well, I disagree with that. I think that there is a lot of resources out there in the community in different states. I'm in New Jersey. You guys are in PA. But there are a lot of resources out here. A lot of times because of the mental illness, they decide they don't want help. They're not ready for help. They don't see what they have going on internally as a problem.
Gotcha.
That's the reason why a lot of them are out in the community. A lot of times there are a lot of homeless people that have a mental illness because they're not in touch with reality, and they see, laying on a bench as their home. They envision that they're in a bed somewhere. So there are resources out here. A lot of times they just don't want to use them. As I said, I work in a partial care program, and every last one of the 180 people that I service, they are there because their history states that they were non-compliant with treatment recommendations, which means that resources were out there. They were offered to them, but they chose not to follow treatment recommendations, not to go to treatment, not to take medication, whatever that may be. There is possibility that certain areas there may be a need for more resources, but overall there are resources out there in the community, but they have to utilize them. Gotcha. This is a part of the mental to say, no, I'm not ready. It's the same as if like someone has cancer, has been diagnosed with cancer, and they say, nah, I don't want treatment.
Just let it take its course. Gotcha.
Wow.
Makes sense. It definitely makes sense. So for the listeners, that have family members that are in crisis, what would you suggest to them if doors are closing in their face and they're looking to seek help for, maybe a child or adult? Like, what would be your advice to them?
Well, again, it's separate entities with that. If it was a child and the parents took the child to the hospital, I would suggest that they utilize the hospital and find out what resources are out there in the community to help them. If it was an adult, a lot of times the adults, sometimes they're independent, they're on their own, but if they have support from the family, then the family needs to follow up as well. But what support services are out there, and encourage their loved ones to follow up and go to the recommended treatment. So, for example, some people may be able to work in a community and just take meds, stable. People need medication and need individual therapy. That could be for a child or an adult. Some people may need to be in a partial care program where they became ill and they lost the skills to live successfully in the community. So they will need to go to a partial care program a few days a week so they can gain those skills back. Now, some people may end up needing to be hospitalized short term, which means they may go to a hospital and they get medication, to assist the medication with them to get stable, and then they can come back in the community and work from there. So there's many different channels that they can take. But the important piece, one is for the person that's sick to have the support. Again, it's just like if someone has a medical problem, they want support. They want family, they want friends, they want doctors, nurses, whoever, to support them and guide them in the right direction. Sometimes you have to go back and say, no, you really need to go. That's just like a person on dialysis may have to go for treatment. say, I had enough today, I'm not going. Now, you can't force anyone to do anything as an adult, but you want to strongly encourage them. Children is a little bit different because you have more leeway as parents, try to get them to go. But as parents, it's a lot of work when you have a child that has a mental illness because it's work in general to be a parent, as you both know, but it's even, it's magnified, 25 times if you have a child that has a illness.
Well, here, when your child is 14 years old, they have the right to check themselves out.
Yep.
They don't have to stay at all, which I think is crazy at 14. And I'm speaking from experience.
Well, me too.
Yet different states have different laws. Some, like you're saying in PA is 15. Other states, it may be 16.
14 here. That's even worse. Here. 14.
I'm sorry.
That's even worse.
Yeah, because they feel, that's ninth grade. If you're looking at that with grade, what ninth grader really knows what's best wholeheartedly?
Right. But yet, I'm still expected to take care of them until they're considered an adult. But you telling me he or she can check themselves out of the hospital where they've been taken to have a mental evaluation or because they have signs of a nervous breakdown or whatever the scenario would be that caused you to take them there. But then you tell them, and they tell them directly, well, at such and such time, because you're 14, you have the right to sign yourself out. That's like slapping the parent in the face saying it don't matter what you think.
Well, ethically, they have the right to let the patient know their rights. So that is their job. It's not intended to slap the parents in the face. They're just letting them know the rights. We all may have mixed feelings about that, as I said, because each state has different guidelines to follow. And I agree with you that it is troublesome for a 14-year-old to be able to make certain decisions. That could be the same way for abortions. There's certain ages in different states where, a girl have their own right to go for abortion without the consent of their parents. It could be the same fight.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's definitely deep. And then and it's crazy that, and that's where a lot of these kids, that's where the manipulation comes in at now because, hey, okay, I'm going to take you to the hospital because you acting up and we want to see what's going on. And they know that they can tell the doctor nothing's wrong and they're back out the door again. And they go back home and start doing the same thing they was doing at home. It's like playing tug of war.
And that's why, knowing that, even though they're hearing what at that time is considered their patient is saying, if you know otherwise, that's why it's important for the support to communicate that to the person that's evaluating them. All the time in the field that, we do the same thing. There's consumers that go to be evaluated, and by the time they're there, they know there's a strong chance that they're going to get admitted to the hospital, and they don't want that. So they straighten up for whatever that means for them. So as service providers, what we do, we communicate with the screeners, give them a clear picture of what's been going on to help them make a clear interpretation of what's needed for that person. And when they go to crisis, the catch is they evaluating to see if they are a danger to themselves or others.
Yep.
If they were there, and at that point what has happened is over, then there's no need to admit them, no matter how bad you want them to be admitted. So if there is a concern, it has to be seen during that time where the crisis is actually in effect. Now, there's times where sometimes they come after the crisis, but when they look at the whole picture, that's when they would consult with the screener as well as the psychiatrist to help determine if the person needs to be there. Now, sometimes if they're unsure, what you can also do is advocate for them to at least keep them overnight so they can evaluate, see what happens from there. A lot of times some screening centers may not want to do that, but that is an option as well. That way, it gives more time to assess the patient.
And you know what I also see, and I'm not, and I can't say that they're faking it, but one would think that maybe some of this is being utilized just for attention or just to get them out of trouble. But it's so many kids today talking about killing themselves and at school. And then you have the school calling the parents saying, you know, your kid's speaking of, you know, wanting to hurt himself or herself. And, you know, and it gets to the point where if they say it enough, then now you as the parent, which you should have done something or addressed it in the beginning anyway, but you as the parent need to, like you said, take them to somewhere where they can get an emergency evaluation. And if you don't want to do that, then the school has to report it to, children and youth. And then they get involved in your household business and try to figure out what's going on and so on and so forth. So I say that to say that the kids today need to understand that that is a serious scenario. It's not something to be played with, because it's almost like the boy who cried wolf. Because if you really have a problem, nobody's going to believe you because you played with it. But it's so rampant.
A lot of times kids hear and see things on TV, on YouTube, or whatever they're watching. Because I've heard from being a parent as well, cartoons where, they saying, I call it adult cartoons, but they, when kids watch it where they saying, oh, go kill yourself, or things of that nature, or talking about things of that nature, and kids take it as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. It is an obligation of the school system, if they hear that, to address that, because you're talking about somebody's life, so you don't know if the intent is real or not. So once the social worker touch base with them, they have to follow up. It's protocol. It's a pain in the butt, because as parents, we know our children, and we know a lot of times they're saying things for attention, but from their end, they have to make sure that the child does not want to harm themselves. And I agree with you. It is extremely serious offense to say that, but they don't see it that way, especially if they're very young. And so they have to learn the seriousness of it and to know that, like, as you said, it's nothing to be played with, because it's extremely serious. Now, there are some kids that say it and really mean it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
For those, they have to be addressed. A lot of times there's something going on in the home, even though it seems as though everything is going well. But you never know. I mean, look at all these kids that, these in high school, the high school kids that go and shoot up the high school. Mm-hmm. Talk about how they have, they're from a nice family, they got this going on, this for themselves, but there's something really going on. Anytime that you plan and you act out on that plan, mm-hmm. It's foreseen, you have a plan, to hurt other people, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Yeah, and you do see a lot of young, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds killing themselves. Like, it's so sad. It breaks my heart to see it.
Yes, it is. And that thinking about when I was 9, that wasn't even a thought about kill myself.
No.
Barbie talk.
Absolutely not.
I wanted to play with the Barbie townhouse. It was killing myself wasn't even thought of. But these kids today are a complete different breed from how we were raised.
Yep, absolutely.
And they do much more than what we were at 9, 10, and 11.
Yes, that is
we
true.
didn't have the internet and all that back then.
No,
exactly.
But we had the desire to go outside and play and run and have fun and all those things. I mean, we had our little Ataris and things like that, which is not in the comparison to what the PlayStation and the Xboxes are today. But we still had things to enjoy. We would go to the little parlor down the street and play with, Miss Pac-Man or the Pac-Man machine or Millipede or Galaxy or Centipede. Like, we had that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and we
got
would
Run,
do
Catch, and
that.
Kiss, and
Right. Catch a girl, kiss a girl, all that
Bring a
stuff.
Levio.
Was that Tops? Remember Tops?
Yeah, Skelly.
So we had those things to do.
But about was actually that was by the time we were teenagers. That wasn't even when we were 8 and 9. That was like Atari came when we were like 12, 13, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were 9, 8 and 9, we didn't have that. It was Barbie and Ken.
She said Barbie and Ken. I know that's right.
Whatever else, Baby Alive, whatever.
Yeah, the Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Yeah.
$6 Million Man.
Way back when.
Yep.
You know, the most we had on TV was Tom and Jerry, where, one would hit the other one in the head with a pan.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's only a bill on Capitol Hill. That was our Saturday cartoon we would see. Yeah. It's nothing. It's nothing like it is today. Oh my God. I mean, but you see on TV all the fighting, all the, even the different things where, like even the games where they killing everybody in the games and stuff. I mean, I guess that's just the way society is at this point in time, but it's really crazy. It's really crazy.
Well, supposedly, they say that those games, from what I hear, because I'm not into the games, that the games are for adults. That's what I heard. I'm not sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then some of them, they say parental guidance. Mm-hmm. And I guess it depends on, what, as parents, what the parents would allow the child to play with. But a lot of times, you buy things, you may not be sure, and it's hard. It's hard. Or they go over a friend's house where the parents will allow them to play certain games than what another parent would allow. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't too much into the video games. My curiosity was elsewhere.
You were with the girls?
Pretty much. And I wasn't playing with Bob.
And you got to be concerned about those today too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you dealing with the sexting and sending that's still sexting, but even saying or even just touching a girl on her shoulder can turn into something great.
Well, you can't sexting with nobody on a rotary phone. I'm just saying.
No, you couldn't.
You can't even sex somebody on a beeper.
No, you cannot.
So,
It's all these new wave electronics, so there's room for any and everything these days.
Exactly.
Unfortunate.
And that's why I miss back in the days. Action.
Yeah. Ooh-wee.
It's not like that, because I just think that what happened was the community was taken from us. Because, see, like when we came up, we had a Miss Mary or Miss Barbara or Miss Judy, and if you did something wrong, it started from her and it went all the way back to the house. Now these days, if you Miss Judy or Miss Barbara or whoever says anything, oh, your child was down the block throwing rocks, why don't you mind your damn business? There's no community.
That is true. That is so true.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's rare these days where the community works together. Back, again, we talk about the past to the present. Like you said, the Miss Judys, they help. It says it takes a village to raise a child. They were part of the village. And when Miss Judy says something, you better listen.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, parents are extremely defensive, it's just a whole different walk of life. That's in a nutshell. It's a whole different walk of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare. It's rare where people see themselves as being part of the community or helping. People these days don't want to be involved.
Well, you almost can't be involved the way people respond. I mean, you might do it, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. You might do it, in most cases, you're doing it in a concerning way. But the people today take offense to even that. Like, don't say nothing to my kid. but yet your kid was
Right.
kicking the old lady in her knee. What do you mean don't say nothing to your kid? You know? Yeah. I'm sorry. You can finish what you were saying. My apologies.
I was done, but you're right. You're right. You just magnified what we were talking about, and it's so true because they take everything as offense, and it's not that people are trying to do harm to other people's kids. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is times where, people, as we say in the hood, come out their face. But it's a way to talk to kids and get your point across. Like, you don't have to say, get your A over here, or, curse at them when you're talking to them. It's a way to talk to them, get the point across as an adult. And say this, you can have the same message versus being nasty or belligerent to kids, and the parents are so on the defense, so because a lot of times, even with the teachers, the teachers may call a parent or send them home or email a parent, and the parent, don't believe certain things happen. I'm a parent myself, and I know from going to parent-teacher conferences and, touching base through emails, whatever, I pretty much know from knowing my child what the teacher said, if it happened or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what, Beverly? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Another part is that, the school district that we're in, the teachers are invested, and they have been on point. What they have said has been 100% accurate. I'm like, I know my child. I know he did do it, or I know he did not do it.
Well, I'm gonna sum it up for you now. You know what the problem is with the parents, the new jack parents. I'm not gonna say the parents. I'm gonna say the new jack parents. The new jack parents is so busy worrying about being a friend to the child, being the child's homeboy or homegirl, that they don't parent the child. And then they get upset when the child starts talking to you like your homegirl or you a homeboy. See, there's no separation between that. And I'm not saying that you can't be a friend to your child, but there's have to be boundaries. And a lot of these parents don't have no boundaries. I went into Price Right, for example, and I'm in there, and I'm hearing this lady telling her son, and they was Hispanic. She was like, you know what I mean, my Nick? And my Nick. And I'm like looking at her like,
Not at all.
what part of the game is this? And like he was like, at the end of the day, Ma, you'll always be my itch.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
And I'm like, yo, the game has changed. He's like, what's wrong with you, OG? I said, first and foremost, my name is Mr. Jones. Because you don't even deserve to call me OG. That's first and foremost. I said, second and foremost, I told his mom, I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. But then when if a man came up to you and said something like that, then you saying to yourself, you need to respect me. Why are you talking to me like that? I'm talking to you like your son talks to you. Because if he ain't got no respect for you, then why should I?
Well, she'll have respect for
How old was
herself.
the son?
He was 12. His teeth would have been in a box of Captain Crunch somewhere. Let me tell it.
That's abuse, E. That's abuse.
Oh, well, I wasn't on my medicine. Blame it on the mental illness.
Oh, God.
It's still abuse.
Oh.
It's still abuse.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
Time hospital.
Nah, because I just feel like, and that's what I do with my kids, straight up. I'm cool, but don't step across the line. I'll joke with you, I'll play with you, but no, don't take it to the left. And I never had that issue. And I really never had that issue with other people's kids, because I let it know, be clear, I don't care if your moms get mad, your dad get mad. You could talk funky all you want to your moms or your father, but you ain't going to have that conversation with me. And you ain't going to talk funky around them, around me. Because I've seen plenty of kids, friends of mine, kids, telling their parents what it is, flipping them the bird. Yeah, I come from the school where grandma had that shoe or Mama Love had that shoe, and you could be around the corner and you still get caught.
I just read something on Facebook, and this is actually powerful. Somebody wrote, let me tell you how real depression is. There are people alive only because their children are. That's deep. That's deep.
I suffer through depression, but I've learned how to deal with managing. And I do a good job with managing because what I look at now is I stay away from things that do make me depressed, especially people. Negative talking people, always talking about it's the end. Oh, why are we still here? Listen, bro, it seemed like you need to be by yourself because I love myself too much. So I'm not punching the clock out because that's what you want to do. We ain't doing the suicide pact or none of the above. I'm a sucker. I'm not doing that. I ain't taking my life. Not for you. If I'm going to go, please let me go the way I need to go. But I ain't, somebody, let's shake hands. Tomorrow we meet at 3 o'clock and it's over. Nah, because I'll be late because I won't be there. This ain't.
Well, and that comes from because you have support system, you're grounded, like you say, you take your medication, and you learn coping skills.
Yes.
And that's one of the key things, coping skills, because a lot of people don't know how to cope with their symptoms for whatever that means for them. So once you know what coping skills you need to do and you implement them and you have a changed behavior, and it's for those that need to take meds, those that need therapy, once you follow your treatment recommendation, which is what I spoke about earlier, that helps keep you grounded.
It definitely does because I found myself being more attracted and gravitating to the miserable ones too. So you already are on the edge. Then you hanging out with somebody that's on the edge or around people that's just so, it also puts you in a dark place. So I had to remove myself from the elements that was pushing me into the dark place in order for me to find out how to cope. But it's like a drug, but as long as I stayed around the negative element and the dark thinkers and the dark talkers and the dark actors, then it wasn't helping me. And now I look at them and say, I'm good that I moved away. I got away from the situation because my eyes is a lot more open. And I say, kids, you got a lot to live for. Mm-hmm. You got a lot to live for. Because trust me, it's easy to get swept in and want to pull that trigger. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not talking about from what I heard from somebody down the road. I'm talking from experience. A person that had a near-death situation, that was in a coma for 2 weeks, that can definitely verify and say, when you on the verge of dying, did you see the light? Yes, you do see the light. And it's very comfortable. It's very appealing to walk towards where you feel like, if I go here, I'm good.
Right.
But then when you reverse from walking from the light and then you coming back, and then you're awoke and you're saying this, so we got a tube down your throat, your brain is racing like, what the hell is going on? Now you got seizures. You like, oh, I didn't end up this way before. I wasn't like this before. Mm-hmm. So all that was masked on my shoulder. Like I said, I had the Superman, the Man of Steel was great, but then once I got sick and went through what I went through, it was a crack in the shield, and it was getting open and open and open and open and open to the point where maybe I should have went to counseling because I had a near-death situation, but I didn't go. I'm good. It's back to business. And the first,
what do you?
Huh?
What for your situation made you feel that you were good?
Because I just got married, just had my son Amir, I was already programmed that whatever move I made, I always got to take it for the team. And it started, and we can talk about that on a whole personal level behind the scenes, but I was always put in a position where I had to make the sacrifice in order for us to be okay. From when my mom left my father and our living situation, our current living situation with a friend of the family, without putting too much out there, with the friend of the family sister, I had to make the sacrifice, or we didn't have nowhere to live. So I was programmed already. So once I got out the hospital and I was able to manage the seizures, everything was okay in my mind. But deep down inside, everything was not okay. That fuse from that stick of dynamite was being lit, but it was a slow burn. And then once,
How did you put out the fuse then?
It took 6 years.
You seem to be coping, so how did you put out that fuse?
It took 6 years, sis. It took 6 years because then I started self-medicating. And then one day, a good friend of mine who lived around the corner from me found me parked on the corner on the sidewalk. And he gave me a hard dose of reality. Like, yo, kid, like, come on. It wasn't no weed. It wasn't no coke. It was painkillers. It was syrup. Because I was in so much pain that I was just looking for something to soothe the situation. And he told me, you got to leave that alone, and you got to go to counseling and therapy, and you got to deal with this. Because that's only a temporary fix. It's only good for the moment.
Absolutely.
Now, what if you ain't got no money to get no syrup? What if you ain't got no money to get no more, or your doctor ain't giving you no more prescriptions for the Percocets and the other stuff you taking?
Then you go into the streets.
Now reality kicks in. And like I said, I'm a punk. I ain't sniffing. I ain't puffing on no crack or none of that. So that's the other options for really self-medicating yourself. And like I said, I ain't trying to put nothing in my nose. I don't like needles, so I ain't hitting my arm. I couldn't drink. So I had to really say I had myself put into a program, and I dealt with it.
Okay, well.
So you found something that works for you, and that goes back to what we initially were talking about in regards to people have a lot of symptomatology. You know, a lot of times it's based on, you just touched on a lot of things that happened in your past, brought you to the present, and, you know, but you learned a support system and to help you learn how to cope with certain situations, and you took those tools and used them to your advantage.
Definitely, because the great part, the first day of therapy when I went, because I went to outpatient therapy at Muhlenberg, thank God for them. I give them the utmost props at Muhlenberg Hospital. And the first thing I was able to do was to cry. To actually cry. And not to make y'all laugh, it felt like I was sitting on the toilet and I ain't go to the bathroom for a month. Just to cry and let it go and yell and scream and stomp. That was the first step. The second step was being able to ask a question that became more clear to me because I was blaming myself because I always had to take one for the team. I put myself in that position to shield, and I couldn't shield no more. So instead of me being the help, I learned how to ask for the help.
That's nice. Nice to hear that.
Sounds like a breakthrough.
And I did that for, 3 months, and I felt like a new person. Did I relapse? Yes, I did. So I went to the program twice, and the second time was the charm. Because I was in there with a bunch of people that was depressed, but they took it to they were self-medicating. They were self-medicating. So what I was doing was
easy peasy,
plain and sand. I didn't see somebody have more holes in their arm than Swiss cheese.
Oh my goodness.
And the other guy sitting next to me, he was over there. His nose was running like it was a water fountain. And I'm a germaphobe, so I'm like, yo, listen, is there another way I can do this? Because I can't be in here with them. And she was talking about we got to hold hands. I said, I'm not holding none of these drug addicts' hands.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
None of them.
That's terrible, E.
I'm sorry. You know how my mouth is. I'm not holding none of you crackheads' hands.
But that's a part of the bonding in their, in terminology in their meetings, especially at the end of the meeting, you all come together.
With some gloves. I ain't touching them. No. If they thought I was playing, I said, y'all got to put some gloves on me. I'm not touching them.
And I'm sure you said it.
Scratching and all that. That's when I said, it's over. I'm not coming back in them. That's when the reality kicked in. I said, listen, you want to be in here with them or you want to be out there doing what you need to do? I chose to be out there what I was doing because I ain't want to be in there with them. And then I found that they put me in the wrong group. So,
but maybe, see, that was intervention there because it got you to where you needed to be.
Because I went and told the person, the director, I said, do you see me beating on my veins on my arms? Do you see my mouth moving out of control? My nose ain't running? Like, what's going on? She said, what do you mean?
But I'm going to respond to that. But you still had a problem. So even though your problem was not the same as their problem, you still had a problem.
Yeah.
So your goal of being there was to focus on what you were doing, even though you were doing something different. The behaviors were similar. Not the same, but similar. So what they wanted you to do was focus on Eric to get you right. And like Sharonda said, that was a reality test for you to say, hey, this is not for me, this is not where I want to be, so let me get my stuff together and do what I need to do.
Well, I got nervous because they was like, this is intensive drug. I said, whoa. Wait a minute.
Yeah, they just messed you up with that one.
I was like, y'all got me in the wrong spot. Because she was like, this is intense. And everything they was talking about was, medicine, to help you wean yourself. I said, wait a minute, wean me or for what? I'm not in here for that. Hold on, wait a minute. No. But they did put me in the wrong spot. They did put me in the right group. And like I said, I met a great bunch of people and the second stint around, and we all stayed in contact with each other. And I got to hear other people's situation, and the light came on and said, damn, your situation isn't as bad as you thought it was. Because, see, when you go through depression, you just think your situation is all screwed up. That nobody can, you at the top of the list. I found that I was probably 109. From 1 to 109, I was at 109. Because I saw the cutters and all that, and I was like, oh, wow. And it was deep. It was definitely deep. But like I said, that time to just cry, because I am prone to keep it all to myself. And they gave me the one-on-one session. They had a Catholic priest come in, and you talk with him, you confess and talk. And after I finished talking with him and I cried, I felt like a new person.
Because you relieved it all.
I did.
You let it go.
He didn't like some of the things that came out of my mouth, and I know he was constantly drawing a cross on his chest because he probably thought I was the son of Omen Damon. But he said, let it rip, and I let it rip. So once I let it rip, I felt better. But I'm sure if he had a jar of holy water, he would have doused me with it.
I'm quite sure. But it was okay because at the end of the day, it was about treatment for you. That's whatever was needed to help you be successful was. And that's what has happened. And it's clear that it worked. Because, it's having a bag full of groceries. And as you get rid of take the groceries out or get rid of the groceries out the bag, whatever terminology you want to use, then the bag is empty. So you needed to empty your bag. And once you got rid of the sodas and the coffee and the candy and the gum and the fruit, whatever was in that bag, it made it all better for you.
And I knew I had a purpose, because I knew somebody else that had mental issues, and I knew that I needed to be part of their life to help them. Yeah, I'm talking about Sharonda. So I knew that I knew it was a purpose for me. I knew it was a purpose on me. The voice in my head said, you got to help her. She got a damn problem. And that's how.
Well, I will own a certain level of crazy, but I'm not crazy enough to where you got to take care of me or I need any medication.
You need something. But anyway.
We all have a teeny weeny level of that.
She got a whole lot of that. Okay, I'm listening.
And I could let some of that out too. But typically, you don't get that from me. If you see me fly over the cuckoo's nest, it's some serious stuff going down. And it's about to go down. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Miss Beverly, we would love for you to share with the listeners, like if you got a website, you know, any information that you want to share. We don't want you to give your social media business because they'll be like, how you doing, Miss Beverly? I listen to E.Jones, and you can help me.
Hey, I mean, no, she might want to give us social media information.
I wouldn't do that. If you got a website or something that you can steer them to, that I think that'd be good enough.
Well, I don't have a website yet, but what I am on Facebook, and it's BMC Counseling and Consulting, so they can like my page. I also have BMC Counseling and Consulting, gmail.com, so they can reach out to me that way. Mm-hmm. So either ways for now, I'm in the very, very beginning stages. We were established in January this year, so I'm finding my way. And I have some excellent people that's going to come on board with me to work with, like I said, domestic violence as well as with children, things of that nature, mentoring. So I'm very, very excited and what BMC is going to become in the near future. And I'm looking forward and hoping that you both will have me back on the show at a later date so we can talk about where we have come from and where we're going and see if we can get, enlighten some other people and get some additional support.
Now, I got one for you. I'm going to give you a bigger stage. You know, we're doing the launch party for the Rewind Network, and I got a couple of people that want to speak, and if you want the platform to speak, I want to give that to you, too, because the Rewind Network is just not going to be about entertainment. It's going to have an educational component to it, too, and we want to make sure that the viewers get everything out of the network, not just, somebody up there shaking their behind or whatever. So that's
something I consider. We can talk about that offline.
Yes, we can. Yep.
But yes, I am very, very interested.
Okay.
Well, let me just say this, Miss Beverly. Congratulations on BMC. I'm very proud of you. I wish you nothing but success and just the world because you deserve it. And I'm gonna be along with you to enjoy it.
You might be the first patient.
Accomplish all of our personal goals in life, and we're gonna just let it do what it do.
Absolutely.
That's right.
You said I'm gonna be your first patient, but that's okay.
She probably want to close after that. Anyway.
Anyway.
Well, Miss Beverly, we definitely enjoyed that you came on the show. Of course, you can come back. Hopefully, we can get you face-to-face in the studio.
All right. We can work on that. Maybe sometime in the summer.
Well, definitely. You know, our doors is always open. We ain't going nowhere.
True that.
We trailblazing.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right.
So you have a blessed night, and thank you for coming on.
Thanks again.
Thank you to both of you. I truly appreciate it.
And tell my man I said, what up, Timmy, what up, homeboy? Yeah. Okay. I had to get my medicine. You know, I was off the medicine for a little while. And I tell him, I said, what up? And I tell him, I said, congratulations to both of y'all without putting it out there. Congrats.
Thank you.
Anytime.
All right.
Have
a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Thanks.
night.
Bye-bye.
So, yes, indeed, we had Miss Beverly in the building with us. Great conversation. You could definitely catch this on our iHeart channel because we got that.
That's right.
And, you know, we're going to keep doing some things, man. So we're going to end this with 3 joints. We got LL Cool J, I Need a Beat. We got some Foursome D's, Itching for a Scratch. That's what people that don't use soap and stuff like that. And then after that, we got another Foursome D joint, Let Me Love You. And we out of here. E.Jones, Sharonda, you know how we do things.
Peace.
And I forgot to tell y'all, damn, 78. Oh, we had about 85 syndications right now. So I'm going to let my man answer that. They said, who let the dogs out? We just did. We'll holler at y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
E.Jones.
The E.Jones Show. The E.Jones Show. The E.Jones Show.